everyone, in today's lesson we're going to learn the song Horse with No Name by the band America. Now, as many of you know, I played guitar for the band for many years, so I have some unique insight on the song. Now, the song is fairly simple in terms of strumming and even the chords used, but there's a lot of mystique in terms of the tuning of the 6-string guitar, as well as the interplay between the 6-string and 12-string guitar. So let's start with the tuning of the 6-string guitar. There's not really a name for this tuning, but what we can do is start with a double drop D. So D on the bottom and D on the top. Now here's where it gets crazy. The A string gets tuned all the way down to a low E string. So it's going to be D, E, D, G, B, and D. Okay? Now this guitar part's going to go between two different chord shapes. The first one looks like this, with our first finger on the 2nd fret, E string or D string, second finger on the 2nd fret D string, and the third finger on the 2nd fret high E string, or in this case the high D string. So that's going to sound like this. And all we're going to do for the second shape is move your first and second fingers up one string set. And when you put the strumming to it, it's going to sound like this. Now let me slow down that strumming part. For the most part, it's this sort of alternate strumming kind of pattern, but a few key things I want to point out. First off, when we first hit the chord, we want to emphasize those lower notes. So like, and even again right there. And when we can switch to the second chord, we've got, so again, I'm kind of emphasizing the lower notes when we start it, and then hitting those up strums really prominently. So. Now effectively all this first chord is an E minor, but I think you'll agree that what makes it different than just strumming a normal E minor shape like we might do is the fact that we've got this fretted E mixed with the open E, having those two jangle against each other, plus of course these other fretted notes, E here, open G, open B, and then a fretted high E. You know, there's just a different timbre to having a fretted note versus an open note, so you put that all together and it just has that sound of that song. Okay, now let's take a look at the 12-string guitar part. This part plays this pattern. Okay, so this guitar is playing basically an E minor 9 shape. So we've got, so first finger's on the 2nd fret A string, third finger on the 3rd fret B string, and second finger on the 2nd fret high E string. Now you could start with the basic E minor chord and then switch to that E minor 9 to really lay in that E minor sound for that low hit. But I noticed that Jerry Beckley plays that like this. And you're still basically only emphasizing those low strings anyway, so it more or less is the same. Okay, so now the second chord is basically this F sharp minor chord, but without the bar. So we'll put the first finger on the 2nd fret G string, and then our 3rd and 4th finger are on the 4th fret of the A and D string. Now we're going to also have the open B and high E string here too, so this is a very popular America chord. Okay, and we could call that, it's basically an F sharp minor 7, but with an added 11 because of the B string. Okay, now last but not least, we have this shape, which is going to be our second finger on the 2nd fret A string, and our third finger on the 2nd fret G string. Okay, so that part all together again is going to be, now that's the part that Jerry Beckley plays, and in later days he actually moved it to an electric 12-string guitar, which is a really nice texture as well. The only other part that I haven't talked about is Dan Peek's part, and he, at least from the early live footage was playing the same part that Jerry did, only on a 6-string acoustic guitar. So now those are the 3 different guitar parts, and where I think the magic happens is when you put all 3 of those parts together. I mean, each one of those is cool on its own, but the incomparable magic is when you put all 3 of them together. That's when it really sounds like the song.